You know, inside your home, right now, there's an invisible war raging. On one side, you've got your heating and cooling system, the machine that's supposed to keep you comfortable. And on the other, the extreme, brutal environment right outside your door. So let's dive into this unseen battle and figure out what it really takes for your home to win.
We have all been there, right? That moment of pure panic. The air goes completely still, you feel the temperature start to creep up, and you realize your last line of defense against that oppressive heat has just surrendered. It feels like a total failure. But what if I told you the real culprit is something much, much bigger?
Because, for so many of us, the true antagonist in this story isn't just a blown capacitor or a simple refrigerant leak, no. It's an active, aggressive force working against your home's climate control system 24/7. And to really understand this fight, we've got to go to a real battlefield.
And our case study today takes us to the Woodlands, Texas. Now, this community is a perfect example of a home under constant environmental assault. The challenges here aren't just an occasional inconvenience, we're talking about a relentless, year-round siege. Let's take a look at the specific forces these homes are actually up against.
See, this isn't a single front war. You've got months of blistering 95-degree-plus heat and brutal humidity that forces systems to run nonstop. Then, in the spring, aggressive pine pollen literally chokes the outdoor units, starving them of air. The ground itself is shifting, stressing the foundation and pulling ductwork apart. And just to top it all off, you get these sudden winter freezes that add a completely different kind of strain. It is, without a doubt, an all-out assault.
So what happens when a system is under this kind of constant strain? What are the actual casualties of this climate war? Well, the failures are specific, they're predictable, and they are directly tied to that hostile environment we just saw. Starting with one of the most common system failures you'll ever see.
The first casualty is a classic, the frozen coil. The system is working so hard to pull all that nasty humidity out of the air that when the airflow gets even slightly restricted, say by a dirty filter, the whole thing can just freeze solid. Ice builds up, it blocks the refrigerant, and your cooling is officially dead in the water until it thaws out.
And the long-term damage? Oh, it's a big deal. The compressor, that's the heart of your AC unit. It's also one of the most expensive parts. In a calm, cool climate, it might last 15, maybe 20 years. But down in the Woodlands, it's forced to run a constant marathon, and that cuts its lifespan almost in half. It literally works itself to death, and that leads to a huge replacement bill for the homeowner.
Hey, remember that shifting soil we mentioned? Well, here's where it gets really crazy. Up to a third, a full 30% of the cold air you are paying for might not even be making it into your rooms. It gets pumped directly into your attic or your crawl space because the ground itself is physically pulling the ductwork apart. I mean, that is a staggering amount of waste, and it forces your system to work harder and your bills to climb higher, all for less comfort.
Okay, so the situation seems pretty bleak, I get it, but this is where the pros come in. To fight a high-tech enemy like a hostile climate, you need a high-tech arsenal and a real professional strategy. Guesswork just isn't going to cut it, and it all starts with proper planning before a new unit is even installed.
The first weapon in the playbook is something called the manual J load calculation. This is the serious engineering that makes sure you have the right size system from the get-go. If it's too big, it cycles on and off, wears out early, and doesn't dehumidify properly. Too small, and it never stops running. This calculation matches the weapon to the specific battle your house is fighting.
And pros don't just guess where the problems are. No way. They use tools like thermal imaging cameras to literally see the cold air escaping from your ducts. They use digital manometers to measure air pressure with surgical precision. This is the difference between a wild guess and a clear diagnosis that's going to save you a ton of money on unnecessary repairs.
Now, when you're looking at new equipment, a super important factor is the SEER 2 rating. This is the official government measure of efficiency. All you really need to remember is this. A higher number means it uses less energy to give you the same amount of cooling. And in a place like the Woodlands, investing in a higher SEER 2 rating can absolutely pay for itself in lower electric bills.
Okay, this brings us to the most stressful question every single homeowner faces when their system breaks down. Do you pay for a really expensive repair, or is it just time to replace the whole thing? It feels like a total gamble, but there's actually a simple rule to take the financial guesswork right out of it.
And it all comes down to this one magic number, $5,000. Let me show you how it works.
Here's the rule, and it's incredibly simple. You take the cost of the repair, let's say it's $600. Then you multiply it by the age of your system, we'll say it's 12 years old. That gives you 7,200. And since that number is greater than 5,000, replacement is the smarter financial move. It's that easy.
And here is why this rule is so brilliant. It's a gut check that stops you from throwing good money after bad. It helps you recognize when a repair is really just a temporary patch on a system that's already on its last legs, especially in a climate that shows absolutely no mercy. It gives you a clear financial line in the sand for what can be a very emotional decision.
So now that you've got the professional playbook, let's finish up with a few defensive maneuvers you can use yourself. These are simple, proactive things anyone can do to protect their system and keep it totally battle-ready, saving you money and a whole lot of stress down the line.
You know, regular maintenance makes a huge difference. A well-maintained system can last up to 5 years longer and, get this, it uses about 15% less energy than a system that's been neglected. It's the difference between a reliable soldier and one who's always on the verge of collapse.
And here is one final incredibly powerful tip, the 3-minute rule. If your AC shuts off for any reason, maybe the power blinks or you turn it off at the thermostat, always wait at least 3 minutes before turning it back on. That short pause allows the pressure inside the system to equalize. Restarting it too soon puts massive stress on that compressor and can lead to a catastrophic and very, very expensive failure.
So as we wrap up, it's really worth remembering, your home is fighting this war, whether you know it or not. The heat, the humidity, the pollen, they're all right there at the gates. The only question is, with the right knowledge and a few simple rules, is your home prepared for its next battle?